As soon as I see the numbers get up, I'll just say, hey, happy Friday, everybody. It's the mobile coaching app. My name is Ryan. Always a pleasure giving you these presentations here. Yes, Glenn is off today. He went to go visit some family. He should be back, business as usual next week. We'll give everyone just a moment, kind of make their way into the room. Now, if you can hear me, if you can see me, if everything looks good, sounds good, just put in VV in the comment section. That way I know we are good to go there. We got Clay in the background today. Joey, I'm not sure what Joey's up to. But Joey actually did put together a special treat for us. We'll get that in just a moment here. I see the alert just hit. Everybody's making their way into the room here. Now, I'm going to say this. I did a video about 2 weeks ago. Very short to the point. I think it was my shortest video. Yeah, it was about 4 minutes, 50 seconds. Titled When to Hedge, right? Perfect timing. And I gave you no fluff, no noise, just gave you some trend lines on the major indexes, said, hey, we're about to break these. If they break, get defensive. Or I gave you some contra ETFs to play to the downside. If anyone watched that video, because I only know about 1,000 of you watched it, and not that many people watched it, was probably the most helpful video I've done in some time. And I don't mean to laugh about that. I just hopefully everybody, is taking the appropriate actions, right? Getting defensive, right? All right, everyone's saying I'm coming in loud and clear. Mac Daddy says I didn't listen again. Other than the hedge video, I just try to put you in pockets, because I've talked about this before. A lot of people, not just saying you guys and gals in particular, but are just way overexposed on semiconductors, the Mag 7, and we know that old style, that's not the way 2025 to be successful, right? Obviously, the market's going down. We're seeing cyclical nature, industry rotation, things of that nature. Say, Ryan, can you give us some bottom fishes? Well, who thinks the bottom is in? Let's start off with that. Who thinks today the bottom is in today? I do not. If you think the bottom is in, put a 1 in the comment section, right? If you don't think the bottom is in, and there's more downside potential, put a 2. Now, do I think we're getting, pretty close to the bottom? I'd hope so. I've been looking at the levels of the Qs right now, and we're approaching some key levels. There's some gaps till the next level support. 1, 1, 2, 2. Yeah, a lot of 2s there. A lot of 2s, right? No way, but we want to be ready. No bottom until market drops 3,000 points. Akshay, that's a little excessive. Well, even on a bad day, I've got some good news for you guys. We got the green light to start our very first Roadshow experience. And on top of that, we've got a VIP experience. So on May 1st, me and Glenn will be in a conference center in Uptown Charlotte. The registration page just opened up. And actually, before we get too far ahead, Joey put together a wonderful clip to kind of, promote this project. Especially, we know a lot's going on in the market, right? We got to have something to celebrate, something good to talk about. Well, we're going to have a live presentation. I'm going to be doing the Power Hour live. Glenn will be doing Trending Thursday with a live audience. And then after that segment in the afternoon, we're going to do a VIP session. I think it starts around 4. And we're going to have a great time. I mean, we've got rooftop restaurant, presidential suite. We've got our own sommelier coming in, do a grand wine tasting for us. So, Clay, let's play that clip that Joey's been working on. It's really good, people.
Hey, VV Nation, I'm Glenn.
And I'm Ryan. We've got a special event coming next month, May 1st. We're finally hitting the road. Now, we will be hosting some live streams. Tell them a little bit about the live streams we'll be doing.
We're going to have the Stock Analysis Power Hour. Ryan will host that. Bring your stocks. Let Ryan break them down for you. I'll also do a live stream called Trending Thursday. That's where we go through, look at what's going on in the market, what's going on in the news, and we analyze stocks. We also have a live presentation for those people who will be attending live as well. What's that, Ryan?
Now, we do have the presentation titled Unlocking the Secrets of Financial Success. Now, to register for free and get the details, just go to VectorVest.com/roadshow. All right. I couldn't hear the sound. Hopefully you guys could hear this sound, but I think it was muted for my sake. So just let me know if you could hear that. And yeah, Cowboy Wolf, but wait, there's more. Now, I will say this. Glenn, that reminded me of the ShamWow guy, right? I will say this. This is just like a pilot project. We do plan, hopefully expanding this, going out west, going up north. But we figured we'd start out and Charlotte, our hometown, to kick it off, right? Now, I will say this, it's free. All the stuff during the day is absolutely free. So if you're in the area, if you plan on traveling through North Carolina, or if you got nothing going on, then we can come check us out here. But that evening, the VIP event, that is going to be an extraordinary event here. Like I said, we're going to do dinner at Fahrenheit. It's a beautiful rooftop restaurant. The hotel that we rented out the presidential suite to, I remember one of the big selling points, Elvis Presley used to stay in that same hotel room going forward. So yeah, a lot of big things there. Definitely check out the registration page. Like I said, majority of the event is free. If you want to check out the VIP section, see what comes with that, definitely go to the registration page. It's just VectorVest.com/roadshow. No, we won't be golfing, Ross. Not on this one. Let's see here. Phyllis says they say the VIP is $495. Is that correct? Clay, is that the correct price? I am not in charge of the pricing on that. We'll have to check it out. Let's see.
Give me 1 second.
All right. But yes, if you like wine, this is the kicker here. If you like wine, if you appreciate wine, the sommelier, secret's out. It's actually my sister. She works for Jarvis Vineyards. You should Google it. Google Jarvis Vineyards. This is some of the most exclusive wine you're going to find coming out of California, right? Some of those bottles, I'll say this. For Jarvis, a starting price for a bottle could easily be a couple $100, right? And we're going to drink some good wine that night. We're going to drink some real good wine. Google Jarvis. The vineyard's cool. It's a cave. I believe it's in Napa. It's in California somewhere. I should know. It's my sister works there. But it's a cave. The guys apparently inherited a bunch of money, and they just wanted to make some great wine. And they make some great wine. I've gotten to try a little bit. Like I said, a couple $100 a bottle. We don't get too many samples at the family gatherings. But when we do, I definitely check it out. It's beautiful wine. So if you appreciate wine, if you just want to get to know me and Glenn better, and we are going to have our own personal talks with the VIP session as well, that, not going to be streamed on YouTube, things of that nature. And then after we're done with the VIP session and hanging out with you guys, we will be going to Fahrenheit. Google that as well. It's a beautiful rooftop restaurant right in the heart of uptown Charlotte. So it really is going to be a beautiful event. During the day, we're doing mostly business, talking about stocks, but at night we can get to know each other. We're probably going to talk about stocks again. Let's be honest. But then, we can at least enjoy some wine, some good food while we do it. But check it out. That being said, right?
$495 for the early bird.
$4.95 for the early bird. All right, I did, again, I wanted to, get that confirmation before I started, telling everybody $4.95. But like I said, Jarvis alone, Google one of those bottles of wine, you'll see you're getting a great value there, especially if you appreciate wine. It's very hard. Man, Ryan, we missed you in Tampa. Hey, maybe I'll go to Tampa next year. We'll see. Hopefully, right? Well, someone's got to hold down the fort and do the videos, because I do remember when all the guys are at down in Tampa, I had a lot of the strategy of the weeks, the daily color guards. So someone's got to hold down the fort, right? Wouldn't mind going down to Tampa though in January. It's probably better weather than North Carolina in January. But other than that, you know what? While we're doing this, in the comment section below, if we continue the roadshow, put in the biggest city near you, so that way I could get a sense of where these cities are at. We could draw some kind of plan, hopefully this summer, to do that tour that we've been talking about, right? So this is just kind of the pilot program, but again, it's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of exciting things here. Let's see here. Powell just punted on lowering interest rates. Yeah, I'm not surprised by that. I mean, with inflation ticking up before tariffs went in, again, I've been talking about that since it was like October, November's report. It's been ticking up. Inflation data comes out next week, CPI. I do see the cities come in here. We got New Jersey, New York, Miami. And I'd go to Miami. I think Glenn would be okay to go to Miami too. All right, a lot of New York, Seattle, Florida, Atlanta, Vancouver. Nice. Definitely do a West Coast tour here. Pensacola, Florida. I love Pensacola, Florida. Just the coolest little beach town. Probably one of my favorite beach towns, actually, in Florida. I do like New Smyrna as well in Florida. Amsterdam. God, I don't know if I'll be in Amsterdam. Maybe. Hopefully I get the green light. I would love to go. What could possibly stop this slide? I see more downside. Yeah, let's get serious about it for a moment, right? Think about it. Today, China responds, right? Retaliatory tariffs. I think it was the number, 34%? Do you think this tit for tat is over? And honestly, I don't think it's just going to be China. When you get EU doing retaliatory tariffs. Japan, other large trading partners, right? Check commodities. They are down big time today. It's hard to believe. Big inflation with energy prices down, right? Well, actually, that's a really good point you bring up, Michael, because inflation is just, when the market is hot, right? Or they're printing a lot of money, depends on the situation, right? Puts pressure on prices, right? What's a good way to take pressure off of prices? Demand cut, right? What screams a demand cut more than a recession? And I know you guys see it. I see it all over the news. Was it JP Morgan, one of the big banks, just increased the recession chance up to 60%. I think it went from 40 to 60, right? Well, I did buy my SPY puts. Did anyone else do that yet? Tabula says Moscow. I don't know if we'll be going to Moscow. No offense to Moscow. I don't know how that'll work out. New Orleans. I do love New Orleans, though. Nice. OPEC also increased output of oil. Yeah, I did see that. Oil, because the recession, and Glenn and I have talked about this before, right? A recession is not what we want, but if we keep fiddling around, keep kicking this ball, we could either, death by 1,000 needles, or we could just, get our one slash and get it over with, right? I think, personally, a recession is not going to be good for the economy, right? But it is good for inflation because it does put, easing pressure on that demand. And in the course with tariffs, who knows what the tariffs are going to do, but by design, they do put pressure on prices, right? I mean, let's call it is what it is. I'm not going to call it a tax. I'm not going to call it this or that because, again, this is not the forum to get political. But just logically thinking, when you increase tariffs like that, yeah, it's going to put, pressures on prices, right? Recession is part of the business and economic cycle. It removes excesses. Yes, Ramon, we haven't had one in a while, right? And that's what I'm saying. Other than the COVID, market pullback and, the COVID days, but we haven't had a recession, 08? Almost 20 years? Really? Like a real big recession? I'm not saying it's going to be an 08. I don't know if the only way housing is really going to, get affected too much by this is if unemployment keeps ticking up, right? Right now it's 4.2, went up a little bit today. I don't think anyone, expectations were 4.1. It's a little bit hotter than expectations, but still, controllable levels, that's for sure. Yeah, oil, big hit on oil. I mean, I was like down 6-7% as far as at least the crude price. I think I was looking at WTI and Brent. But yeah, they're down about 5-7%. Very volatile right now. Have you heard from Glenn yet? Wonder how he's doing. Glenn, I have not heard from Glenn today, but he was making his way up to New York to go visit some family. So just, he's in my prayers. I think everything's good, but just, always want to keep him in my prayers. All right, that being said, let's get down to it. We got the Dow Jones. Let's take a look at these major indices here, right? They're all down intraday, right? So I'm not going to waste my time looking at intraday. What I want to look at, big picture, right? And with this pullback, we got to go back in time a little bit further, right? So the Dow Jones, I'm going to say right here, this is going to be a really good level of support, and you're looking around just above 36,000. You see the prior wicks there, the prior high, that could be a good level of support here. We need avoid Chinese-made products, but we can bring them to their knees if we stop buying their trinkets. The only reason why we like Chinese-made products is because they're cheap. Let's be honest here. They're cheap, right? And as long as the consumer is under pressure, especially layoffs, recession, inflation increases, things of that nature, tariffs, do you think that's really going to change the consumer's behavior? So just as an example here, right? And just as an example, say you've got an American product at $10. Chinese product, even after the tariffs, comes in at $7, right? About the same quality, right? Not too far off. You're still going to pick the $7 one, especially if your pockets are hurting, right? So let's be honest there about that. But as far as the Dow Jones, look at some long-term support. You can see all the moving averages, Let's see here. Yeah, I mean, you got the near-term support here coming in, but that long-term support around 36. I could definitely see some buyers coming in to the dip there, and that's a little bit more ways down, right? That's about 66.4. We're about 39, so about shy of 3,000, about 2,500 there, right? Does cheap mean inexpensive? Typically, yes. Cheap. Well. Typically, yes, right? What if the world reacts and decides to stop buying our treasury? Rhetorical question, but think about it. I talked about this a couple weeks ago, that there's things worse than tariffs, right? Non-traditional tariffs, I think the video was called, right? If countries boycott our debt, the treasury, then that's not going to be good, right? But the other aspect of that argument is the debt problem that the United States has, and that is one of the biggest arguments for the Trump administration doing this in the first place, right? And you got to weigh out the pros and cons of both situations. And again, I'm not here to get political, but yes, we're like between a rock and a hard place, right? and it wasn't just one policy or two policies that got us in the situation, but it's been decades of policies, either side of the aisle, you can point fingers at over time, right? But hey, it is what it is. It's impossible to compete with China prices, right? If you think about BYD, we don't even allow Boyd in the country, right? I haven't seen no Boyd cars in the United States. Do they allow them on the West Coast? I don't think so. I'm almost positive they're not allowed here. Because, if you brought a $15,000 brand new car in the U.S. market, even if you slapped a little tariff on there and you brought it, I think it was like $12,000 actually. So if you slapped a tariff on there and brought the car to say $16,000, $18,000, that's still going to put a lot of pressure on our domestic ones, right? So, yeah, my biggest fear right now would be China semiconductor industry advancing rather quickly and catching up maybe not even Taiwan, because Taiwan's obviously king of the hill, but even if they just caught up to the United States, as far as their design capabilities, right? And manufacturing's, a whole nother ball game, as the United States is finding out. That's why we rely on Taiwan Semiconductor. But that would be a problem I see going forward. Not just for NVIDIA, but for a lot of different industries, right? BYD would dump their vehicles in our markets. Yes, they would. Bitcoin holding up. Do you think it will fare better? You know what? I didn't want to say this, but we look at NVIDIA versus Bitcoin. Which stock is being more volatile, right? Or use the word stock rather loosely on that. But Bitcoin, was at 108. I think now it's at 82,000. That's what, 25% drop maybe, right? NVIDIA now just hit sub 100. Well, actually, let's take a look at NVIDIA. I know a lot of y'all probably holding NVIDIA, thinking about, should I buy some more NVIDIA? Let's just jump right to it. Let's jump right to it. Let's see. My watch list. Mobile. There we go. 0404. While we're doing this, go ahead and give me stocks. The first 10 stocks I'm going to take up real quick. We're actually going to go through a couple stocks, and then I'm going to utilize the software, get a little bit different out. Some different analysis. We're going to look at some different industries, some different watch. Let's see what's going on here. $11,000 vehicle, no way we could compete, right? And a lot of times they subsidize industries, to undermine other industries. They've been accused of it, whatever it may be. MU, got Tesla. All right. Now, y'all either going to ask me when I should cut off the pain. Hey, T-Mobile, I want to sleep on that one. I like T-Mobile. The 6G stocks, a lot of those. Oh, I got to scroll back up. Where's my mouse at? All right. Gap. ASTS. Oh my God. Yeah, there we go. Let's see here. Gap, ASTS. And then we'll do GLD. All right, let's take a look at these first. Let's get started here. Anglo Gold, right? Here we are. Gold taking a little bit of a hit. I will say this, though. Please add AMD as well. Semis and pharma. Tariffs coming soon. They are excited in earlier announcements, but it's coming, so should be hedged more. Yes, I saw that news last night, right? Taiwan. Are they going to do retaliatory tariffs? So what happens when the semiconductor tariffs go in? That's obviously going to push them down, right? And then if Taiwan comes back and gives us more tariffs, that's going to push it down. And then once the analysts come in and talking about how the earnings are reviewed because tariffs are cutting into the bottom dollar, that's going to push them down. So, yeah, semiconductors, no, I'm not doing that right now. As far as bottom fishing, looking to do bottom fishing with AU, you think to wait on that. Let's look at AU. Because I will say this, I'm more confident on a dip in gold than I'm on a dip in tech right now, right? I will say that much. As far as gold, it looks like it hit a level support. If you are going to pull the trigger, I would stay disciplined because the gold trade could unwind rather quickly. But there's the level of support right there. Let's go into 3 months here. Yeah, level of support right at $33. I do see buying pressure with the moving averages all rolling over there. I mean, essentially you are catching a falling knife. If you want to tiptoe in, get defensive, a little bit more gold on a dip, hey, but going all in on gold, I wouldn't necessarily say that's the best idea. We need for the tariff dust to settle, my opinion. Yes, Ramon. Until we see some good news, until I turn on the TV, until I turn on my computer and I don't see tariff or China as the headline, then I might be more apt to do so, right? And other than the noise, look at this. This is why you got the software, right? Let's just go to the market review. It tells you right there, bearish, boom. All the signals down, right? All the major indices down. Nothing saying, hey, Ryan, somewhere here in VectorVest is telling me I should go buy a stock today. I don't see that. Do you see that in here? I don't see it at all. It actually literally says VectorVest does not advocate buying any stocks at this time, right? So if you buy a stock, yeah, you might get lucky. This might be the last dip. But in essence, you are catching a falling knife, right? You are guessing that this is the bottom. You're not going with the trend of the market. Now, if you're in, pockets of the economy, I know some foreign, entities, commodities, things of that nature, insurance, there's pockets there. But overall, it says, does not buy anything. About contras, right? So that would be the route to go, would be contras, right? Who's going fishing in a tsunami, right? The fish might just come to you at some point. Let the fish come to you. Now, as far as contras, right? As long as you're a trader, as long as you watch the market, you don't plan on going on vacation, or you don't have a whole lot of things going on, yeah, I'd play contras, right? But with the market so far stretched to the downside, the MTI, the BSR already so low, you have missed a lot of that downside action, right? And all it takes is, I'd say it, a tweet or whatever, a tariff change, and the market could rally and it could blow your shorts, right? So that's what I'm saying. Yeah, so next week, Amir, the CPI report, that's what my eyes are on, right? But premium so high, too late to short. So yeah, John, that's my thing. If I'm shorting, I'm definitely not going to do it over a weekend, because we all know some news could come out over the weekend and just blow you out of your shorts. Definitely would treat it like a trade, right? If I buy a short, I'm not going to load up on so much I'm stressed out that this has to work, right? Because now, the software already told you, the MTI was way up here, BSR was way up here, everything was trending down, the DW's been down for weeks, confirmed calls been down since December. So if you're just now thinking, oh, now I should hedge my portfolio, you have not listened to the VectorVest software. You have not. I know you haven't, right? Careful of your covered calls, right? Covered calls, especially if you're not selling stocks right now, covered calls are the way to go, right? In my opinion. And especially with the volatility in the market right now, you are collecting premiums. I'm seeing those premiums very high. One hint on deals about tariffs, the market will turn around. Yeah, and we've seen that. There's a deal, there's not a deal, there's more news, there's less news, and it's just up and down, right? So that's why I'm sticking to the market timing signals, right? You want to be a little bit faster in the market. You don't want to wait for the confirmed call to go back up. Hey, I get it, right? I get it. Those are very, very, it's a slow moving signal. Does a great job. But for active traders, hey, it's not going to be there. If you're more conservative and you just, want to risk off, hey, I get it. Put on some more risk when you see a confirmed up situation, right? And it doesn't look like that's going to happen anytime soon. Now, the DEW is more for my traders, right? My swing traders. Well, the only swing we've gotten recently is to the downside, right? Now, for my real short-term traders, the primary wave, that's going to give you some optimism right there, right? But that is also currently down. And that is the only signal that's really gone up other than a green light. Not many of them. Those are the only signals that have gone up. Those very short-term active signals, to do a quick swing trade, something like that. But as far as, my longer-term swing traders, my long-term investors, those signals are still down right now, right? Is it a good opportunity to sell stock puts right now? I'm not going to say it's a good or bad opportunity. It probably depends on the stock, right? Because different stocks are doing different things right now. Well, they're mostly going down today. But analyze the stock, right? So if you're selling a put, if you're selling over a put, you're expecting, essentially the stock to go up, right? So you collect the premium, right? The problem is he's not caring for anyone, just for himself. We need to be short. We should have been in short since December 18th. Well, Amir, it's easier to say that in hindsight, right? But definitely in December, when we got the confirmed down call, it's probably a good time to at least think about taking profits. He had such a big rally. The market's been going gangbusters. At least take some profits. That would have been a good time to sell some covered calls, right? But then once the DEW and then, all the other signals, have stayed down, and really the confirmed call, anytime that's down longer than a couple weeks, I get concerned, right? Because we know sometimes it can be triggered by a little volatility. You might see a little whipsaw there. But more often than not, that signal really sticks around for a while. So just be careful of that. But yeah, everything's telling me to the downside of the market. If you're not comfortable with the downside of the market, hey, cash is a position. Cash is a position. I think I've said this on AMA before. I messaged my mom back in February. She lives in Colorado, about how she should be going to cash, right? Well, she didn't meet her financial advisor till about 4 weeks later when the market already pulled back. But so that's what she's doing. Her financial advisor's got her, going more into cash kind of thing. And I'll text her when I say, hey, now's probably a good time to start, nibbling into the market, right? I just don't see that right now. If you had gone completely to cash when the confirmed down happened in December, you would be laughing. Well, that's what I'm saying. You don't do it all at once. Just because you get confirmed down, and then you run to the bank and sell all your stocks, right? And you could have done other things. You could have obviously sold covered calls, right? VectorVest was right all the time, and now Steve said this low level could stay for a long time. Amir, it can stay down. Everyone likes to think once the BSR hits there, the MTI hits 0.6. Well, now it's like 0.4. It's just gonna pull up right back, right? Well, macroeconomics can affect that, right? Think about it. We've got rising inflation. We've got, the ongoing trade war, right? The only benefit or only silver lining anything of this is if the economy does weaken, we could get some interest rate cuts, right? And that could be enthusiastic, for especially some of the tech stuff. Covered calls can't protect you from a massive down market. No, it cannot. But that's what I was saying. In December, selling those calls, kind of shifting gears to being more defensive, obviously as, we got closer and found out more about tariffs. Yeah, not a bad idea. We only have ourselves to blame. Confirmed down means get out of Dodge. Yes, it does. And well, I'm not going to say it says get out of Dodge, but if you are more conservative, if you are not, a type of individual that's always looking at your portfolio, looking at stocks, things of that nature. Yeah, it probably is because, you don't look at stocks a lot. So a lot can happen in that confirmed down call, right? Now, if you look at stocks a lot and, you trade options, obviously there's a million different ways you probably could have played it. But yeah, don't overthink it, right? You see the signal start going down, time to get defensive. You see, news. I'm not a big news person, but obviously this type of news is really affecting the market. End of February DW down signal was a good one too. I agree with that, John. I agree with it, right? Cash is trash. Cash is trash. A while, it depends on the timing. But right now, I think cash is not a bad place to be. Obviously, I'm not going to be just staying in cash forever. But cash is good when assets, stocks, housing hasn't come down yet. We'll see how that plays out. But commodities, even gold take a little bit of a breather here. Recession fears are going to put pressure on these type of assets, right? Cash and value is back. Yeah. So that's what I was trying to say. I'm trying to get my mom into cash. I did a story yesterday or Wednesday on USDC, which is like, it's a stable coin. It's like going cash for the crypto community. That company's actually going IPO here soon. Cash is better than my BA sold put vertical. But yeah, again, with options, there's obviously a lot of different ways to play this volatility, right? All right, let's get back here. Let's get to it. Let's go to the mobile watch list. All right, we talked about Anglo Gold. Since we talked about it here, it looks like that bottom wick is gaining some momentum there. So I wouldn't be surprised, some buyers came in on this dip. Cash is great at this moment. Yes, it is. And it's always good to have cash when the market's pulling back and the economy's pulling back, right? Why do you think Warren Buffett's been going to cash? I know you guys, I've heard that news. That news has been going out since last fall, the end of last summer. He's been going more and more and more into cash. When CBOE VIX is 30 plus, you could start buying. I think time to buy is now. A bit aggressive, but that initial bump will be big. I'm just curious, and put this in the comment section. What news or what out there is going to cause a rally? The only news I can think of is if the trade war, if we can all get along, the trade war kind of goes away, right? Who is buying? Apparently, I'm going to say Aligi 2006 is thinking about buying. To me, the Warren factor is a sign for me to get defensive. Yes, I do like that. VIX hit a peak of 45 today. VIX could go much higher than 45. Wait, COVID, shoot, I think that's like in 100, right? It was like over 100 something. If someone's got a moment, take a look at that. But VIX could definitely go higher. Don't think it can't. All right, but AU Gold, I will say this for the traders. MACD, if I look down below, just got bearish on it, right? So if you do buy the dip, the only real optimism there is a support level, and you got a little bottom wick there for the bulls, right? But on the trend side of things, the trend is not in our favor. You see the moving averages, you see the MACD, right? Trade the chart. Right now it's telling me probably not going to buy right this second, right? Especially going into the weekend. We've all seen these weekends, a lot of news coming out, so just be careful. Next week is worse. Any thoughts on Trump's fictional? Well, Bill, I'm not going to comment on that comment, okay? Just because this isn't the forum. All right, we got Micron here. Let's go back to 5 years. Whew! Woo! Who's trying to buy that dip? You trying to buy that dip? Is that the dip you're trying to buy, Micron? Whew! Woo! Yeah, we need a doji. Real level support, I mean, it's at 65 now. It's at this level of support here. I do see some consolidation. What is this over here? 59? I don't know. If Micron gets into the 50s, that might look really attractive. But, I mean, you could just see the MACD just gaining momentum to the downside, right? I don't know who's bottom fishing this. But, again, you could see the clear channel. Look, just go to 3 months here. You see the channel. Clear break outside of the channel, right? Now, if I'm, a bull or I'm thinking about, playing Micron to the upside, that kind of thing, I'm going to automatically assume any kind of rally right now is probably going to be short-lived, right? This Micron here, I would potentially, I'm not saying I see the pivot today, but maybe next week, who knows? I know CPI data, I'm not too optimistic there, but we'll see. If it comes in lower than expected, that definitely gives us, some ammunition for the bulls. But I would say Micron a retest to the bottom of the channel. That would be the trade. If I'm bullish on the trade setup, that would be my mentality. I want to be a buyer today, but if I see a nice pivot, nice bottom wick, some follow through the next day, that could give you some good upside potential until you get to the bottom of that channel again. Give you a little bit of room to run there. We have to pay $400 for Nike shoes soon. Oh, man. A good friend of mine, December, was saying, get ready for the Biden inflation unwind. I think he was right. Too much money in the system. The system, and I don't like to get political, but there was a lot of fakeness in the economy, right? That's all I'm going to say. It was pumped, right? We all know about it. It is what it is. Indices, right? Indices is not a bad idea. QQQ, not the place to be right now, but I wouldn't be that worried about it. AMD in the 60s? I definitely think it's possible, Mac Daddy. NVIDIA? No. We're about to... start tariffs with the country who makes all of our semiconductor chips. I don't see that playing out well for semiconductors, right? Let's be honest about that. So all the semis, we'll look at some other semis, but yeah, Micron, today's not the day to be thinking about it, but if we did get some kind of dip, some kind of retest, I'd probably get back up into the 80s to retest the bottom of that channel, right? That's where I would take profits from the trade. Or look to see if we get rejection or what's happened with price action from there. Here's gold shares with Spider. But still, look, nice lower left, upper right, right? I see, gold's got to take a breather every now and then. How about looking at SP 500 RT and look for some low RT? Not to buy now. Yeah, John, that's going to be the bottom fishing folder. I believe that's the bottom fishing folder. But yeah, and you can run it now, run the search now, but I'd rather run that search when the time comes, right? When we might, obviously we'll get a primary wave at some point. MU equals massively undersold. Ryan, call options QQQ for December. What is your take? It depends when you sell it. I mean, talk about 10 months out. Call options for QQQ. I wouldn't pull the trigger today. Again, I don't think we're just going to, sing Kumbaya and we get a nice blast off rally next week and we're back where we were, I don't think that's the case. Could things change? Obviously they could change. Gold has done well compared to Bitcoin. Too much volatility with Bitcoin. Yeah, no, gold is definitely done. But you got to think about, we're in a risk-off situation. And going back to, Bitcoin, the semiconductors have been more volatile than Bitcoin. And that is concerning when you're seeing Bitcoin, which is a very speculative asset, right? Whatever you want to call it, is having less volatility than a lot of the major stocks, like NVIDIA. Think about it, NVIDIA was $150, now it's less than 100. That's a 33% decline from its high. Yeah, just make sure I did the math. Yeah, about 33%. Bitcoin has not even had that big of a pullback, right? So again, is what it is. But I'm just saying, semis. I used to do Semiconductor Thursday, 6 p.m. video. I haven't done one of those in a while. I think the last one I did was AMD when it broke out the short term. You got up to 115, had a nice little swing trade, but then obviously we know it was short-lived, right? 961 new lows today on New York Stock Exchange, throwing the baby out with the bathwater time. Yes. Go with the trend of the market, right? If you're going to do contras, do like a little 3 and 8 day EMA. Just something to keep you on the right side of the trade, something to help capture existing profits. Right now, like a what is it? Like a trailing stop. So that way, if you're in a short or whatever you're in, if it starts gaining momentum to the upside, that trailing stop will help lock in profits. If it goes to a certain level, right? Or if it doesn't, it just cuts you out short. All right. So here we got gold, but gold is still nice. I mean, looking at a lot of other charts, gold is still nice. Lower left, upper right. I'm more confident on a dip in gold than I am on tech right now. Do you think buyers have capitulated, John? We are 15% under the 50-day on the Nasdaq. Been 95% cash for 2 weeks. Being patient. Joe? Warren Buffett said it the best. The market benefits those who are patient, right? Think about it. You think Warren Buffett's over here rushing around like, oh, I got to go buy a stock today. The Dow's down 1,600 points. I should go buy a stock today. No, he's not doing that. No, he's not doing that. When I start seeing news of, Warren Buffett taking some positions or, getting out of cash, going back into equities, then I know we actually got some good values out there, right? VIX approaching 40, significant. Yes, that is very significant. All right, let's go. We got gold here. Again, I'm going to say the dip on gold is probably better than the dip on semiconductors. All right, 3 months. Is that a bullish engulfing? That looks like a bullish engulfing. Watch out for this retest here. We see this little channel that we had. So consolidation, that's the bottom. That's the top of the channel kind of thing. There we go. Consolidation for a couple weeks. Broke out to the downside. It looks like it wants to retest. If we get rejection here, might be another good shorting candidate, right? Because we wouldn't be getting any follow-through from this bearish engulfing if we got rejection. But if we get some follow-through, potentially break out back to this channel, well, that gives us some upside to about $22. $2 on $20 stock. It's 10%. And for the bulls, 10% in today's market is not too shabby for a nice little skim there. We will not know when Warren will be buying until several weeks later. Where's Glenn today? Glenn is in New York. I believe he's in New York. He went to go check on some family. But as far as gap here, nothing good about this stock. I see the bullish engulfing, but just look for rejection at this level of resistance here. You saw the consolidation. The breakout on GDX is significant. Bullish percent on gold was in the high 80s. That's when I buy puts way out on GDX. I did for September GDX puts. Nice. Very nice. All right, here's the Qs, right? Let's go back to 5 years. This is where I'm looking at right here. Let's go put it about 400. Right now we're at 428. You want to know what I think? I personally think we're probably going to see the pivot right here. What's the high of this candlestick here? The high is 380. Oh no, the high is 408. So in my opinion, I think we're getting close to the bottom. This is what I'm looking for in the Nasdaq. Again, this is back in 2021, a prior swing high. And typically markets like to look for levels of support around prior swing highs. So on that analysis, it's showing me more downside potential. In today's candlestick, I don't see many buyers coming in. You got another level of support here. But other than that, I really do see closer to $400. Market is down more than yesterday. I'm not surprised by that. Especially going into the weekend with this kind of news. Anything can happen over the weekend. Good or bad, right? And I don't think a lot of people want to hold on to any of this more. This will be worst bear market ever. I don't know. We'll see. I'm not going to speculate on that. That would be worse than, you're talking about worse than the Great Depression, Amir? Is that what you're talking about? But yeah, as far as the Qs, I'm thinking like $400. If you got the patience, I have a feeling the Qs is going to get closer to 400. And if I see a pivot off this prior swing high here back in 2021 or a nice bottom wick, then I will start deploying some cash. I'm not taking back up the truck, but then I feel more comfortable about deploying cash. But right now, I'm not going to be bullish, right? Amir, it will be all right within weeks. We'll see. Oh, and earnings next week. We got lots of going on next week. I think banks kick off next Friday, if I'm not mistaken. And there are a couple big names, some energy companies. I'll have to look at it. Maybe I'll do the video of that on Monday. But earnings. And we all know everyone's just going to talk about the tariffs in the earnings call. Do you think that's going to work out well? Even if a company beats earnings and then they give poor guidance talking about tariffs, whatever it may be, it's probably, we'll see. But again, I'm thinking, the Qs could go down to 400. We'll see. Right now we're at 428. We were just at 480 a couple days ago. Now we're at 428. So that's 50 points. It's dropped. Ali said, we will be screwed on guidance. And you know what? Hey, I retired on $5,000. I say $5,000. Buying 350 put for 3 months. Okay, there we go. 350. Woo! That would be a big drop. That would be a big drop there. G's Mail Fidelity have all huge losses. They see over 40%. Hey, dude, talk about Tesla, please. Yeah, let's talk about Tesla. Oh, there it is. Next stock, Tesla. Let's go. No, we're not. Let's look at long term. The biggest thing that sticks out to me is this pivot right here. That is a pivot that I see, and that's around 200. The only bad thing about Tesla, other than the politics surrounding Elon Musk right now, as we all know that's playing a role in the stock. Boyd really ramping things up, battery technology, all that kind of stuff. But as well, you're seeing a boycott. You're really seeing politics, playing to the Tesla stock. So unless the humanoid robots, again, I'm talking about this, the stuff that makes Tesla special and a company of the future, unless that really starts coming to fruition and convincing investors those times are coming soon, I see pressure with Tesla. Our valuation on Tesla and the VectorVest software, I think it's only like $30. Let's see here. Yeah, $30.43, right? So that's my biggest concern with Tesla. If I was thinking about buying the dip on it, I'm not going to buy it right now, just because they're on the forefront of volatility. Tesla's on the forefront of volatility in this market right now. Hey, dude, talk about Tesla. What are your thoughts on utility stocks? I think utility stocks are one of the safest things in the market right now. If you're in a utility stock, obviously look for somebody that's trending up. Overall, if you do want to buy it on a dip, just make sure that you're buying on a dip in an uptrending stock. A lot of people buy dips on a downtrending stock. Remorse says Chinese robotics development is massive. The West needs to up their game. Yeah, I think that's the bigger picture right now is just China in general. Getting more advanced. Getting more into various industries that enhance competition, and the big one, in my opinion, semiconductors and aerospace and defense. Over the next few years. So we'll see how that all plays out. But when it comes to Tesla here, we got it valued at $30. Right now it's at $240. And based off that pivot, this pivot here, I'd want to get closer to $200 before I pulled the trigger. Or obviously you could just do a nice trend line. You can see that's a clear downtrend there. And if it doesn't hit or it doesn't get below 200, look for the breakout in the uptrend. Otherwise, we got a nice little bounce, right? But then you see all the moving averages rolling back over. What's the prior low? 220, right? So that's not that far from where I was talking, 200. I think you get down there. That's what I'm saying. I'm not going to rush to get into this, especially before earnings and before CPI next week. There's a lot of reasons why these stocks could have better prices in the future. Let's see here. We got ASTS. Let's do 1 year. This is just a lot of consolidation to the side. The only advantage I see here, a nice bottom wick today. Let's go to 6 months here. Very nice bottom wick. Higher low than the previous low. That's a very aggressive move. If I'm, putting a stop on there, I'd probably put a stop just probably right at today's bottom wick. Because if it goes any lower than today, it's really next to the prior low. If it breaks that, room to run to the downside. Ryan, what price you buy IWM now or wait till 165? We'll get that in just a moment here. I'll take a look at it. But this MACD, so much momentum to the downside. A lot of consolidation here. Yeah, if you are buying the dip, because apparently someone's buying, I see the bottom wick there. I'd put a stop right there because if it breaks below this, there's not much support coming into play. Maybe down here, and that puts you around $12. But there's not a whole lot of support. After it breaks that, I bet the end of February, people in the know were shorting the market. If you didn't know, you probably did short the market a little bit, right? There's a good chance of that. All right. Let's see here. ASTS. Now let's do this. Let's do edit watch list. Nope. All right, let's focus here. Mobile. Let's get a couple more stocks in here. Let's see here. Hey, UAMY, that's a good one. That was a rare earth play I talked about here. Get rid of that one. Get rid of that one. But yeah, Micron, be careful of that. If you bought that dip, be careful. Again, it broke out to the downside of that channel. Look at the valuation on these stocks, right? Any stock that is overvalued, I'm just going to cross off the list right now. And that's me personally. That's just me personally. Because I just feel like you can get a lot of value in today's market, especially here in the near future, right? Even some of these rare earth plays taking a big hit today. All right, let's put this in here. We got CEH. Hey, y'all want to know what's really been working in the market? Food and beverage. There's Celsius right there. That's what made me think of it. It's in the software, top RT Industries. I was actually going to show that. Let's see here. PLTR. PLTR. I don't understand why it won't let me just add a stock. Palantir taking the hit today. Let's see. CI. DKS. All right, got a few more stocks here. Let's do AWK. And we'll do one last stock here, ACMR. All right, let's take a look at these. All right, first we got Celsius. Food and beverage. Again, the software lets you know what's working. Other than shorts, which is coming up in the top RT Industries, a lot of food, right? Can we see 267 on QQQ, the last low in 5 years? Yeah, we'll close out with the Q. Well, let me look at these stocks, and then we'll definitely take a look at the Qs, because I know a lot of stocks, a lot of important stocks in the Qs, a lot of bottom fishing, a lot of stocks people are still holding. Reddit also taking a hit. I'm not surprised by that. I did see GameStop was up a little bit today. I don't know what happened to that, but oh, GameStop. All right, Celsius. It looks good. I mean, the moving averages are good. If I want confirmation, just because in today's market, with this little bit of rollover here, probably wouldn't jump in quite today, especially with the upper wick. I look at 3 days ago. The upper wick there. Let's see here. Yeah. And as long as it stays above 33, that gives you about a 10%, a little bit tighter than 10% stop. I would remain bullish on this. MACD, still positive, but you notice that the histogram bars are shrinking, starting to roll over. We're starting to see that in price action. That's why I want to look for more confirmation. Take out the high 2 days ago. Here's UAMY, antimony. You can see a nice big jump up here. It is right at this level of support here. Buying pressure coming in. I don't know where you bought it at. This stock has been all over the place. But really, if it drops below 180, I'd be more concerned. I mean, it's down 15% today. I don't know when you guys got into this. But if you're thinking about it, I've talked about the stock all over the place. But, I mean, think about it. It went from $1.20 to $2.40. It doubled in about 2-3 trading weeks there, right? So, again, protect profits. Don't be greedy right now. Little wins are better than big losses, in my opinion. Little wins are better than big losses. But as far as U.S. antimony, I see the MACD crossing over. Yeah, I'd be a little bit more bearish on it right now. Again, I wouldn't be a buyer of it. If I'm looking for a pivot, it would probably be somewhere actually right around the level it is right now. It got down to about 180. But yeah, I don't know how the tariffs are going to affect this stock in particular. I know the only reason why it took off in particular is because of rare earth metals. And actually, in China's retaliatory tariffs, rare earths, critical minerals, that kind of stuff was on the list. I don't know if antimony, I know germanium was one. There's a couple others. I've talked about that before. Rare earths, it's kind of like the new gold rush per se, because those are items needed for like semiconductors, night vision, a lot of defense applications, technological applications there. But as far as this position, big down day today, protect profits. I'm not going to say get in here when it's down 50% one day. Yeah, there's one right there, gadolinium. Yeah, so there's a couple of them out there. There was a list on it, but good luck trying to remember those names, right? But those are very important criticals. And it's the whole point they're talking about Greenland and all that stuff is because China has a chokehold on it. I mean, compared to the whole market, I mean, they control it, or the whole world, they have like 90% of the market. And if that's the new gold rush, semiconductors, the space technology, I mean, that's going to cause, issues with world powers, right? Because world power is going to want to be controlling those type of items. It's just how history works. It's not an opinion. All right, there's UAMY. Let's go to Cigna Group here. See what's going on with Cigna. I mean, that looks nice. I mean, for the last few months, that is pretty dang good. Let's zoom in here. Oh, yeah. I mean, you can just draw a nice little trend line there. I don't like that candlestick, especially at this rejection here. I'd be in the boat of taking some off the table. I mean, that's a clear rejection from, yesterday's wick. Today, you getting follow through on that rejection. If you're thinking about buying this and if you're not in it, I just draw a little trend line there at the bottom. Or maybe even utilize maybe like a 20-day EMA, see where that's at. See if you remain above that 20-day EMA. But yeah, I got the 3 and 8 and the 20-day simple, and I mean all the moving averages are still in our favor. I'm not gonna be a buyer of it today by any means, but if we could get nice pivot off of 320, hey, that might be a good play there. But again, the market is bearish right now, right? Not the easiest thing to be buying stocks in general. It looks at our valuation. It is undervalued. We valued at 371. So I do like that play. Relative safety, fundamentals strong on this position here. I do like that. Now here is going to be utility company. That's not good. We got a bearish engulfing right out the gate today. See if there's follow through. But I mean, the stock went from 120 to 150, right? These utility plays, which aren't typically that exciting, have become momentum trades, right? Because a lot of people are pouring into them. Let's look at the valuation here because a lot of these utilities have now overvalued. Yep, see this one here, overvalued. We valued at 98. You can see, historically it's been overvalued for a while. But yeah, that is a bearish engulfing candlestick. In charts, be 15 minutes or hours. You can change the candlesticks, the time frame of the candlesticks here. All right. Let's see. Yeah, that was valued 98. The fundamentals here, not very strong. So this is just going to be really more a momentum play here with RT coming in at 1.37. So look for that, follow through, a confirmation of today's bearish engulfing candlestick, which, I know it's only 1 o'clock, but more than likely we'll probably get that bearish engulfing candlestick by close. Here's ACM Research Inc. No, just so much momentum to the downside. I do like the undervalued aspect of it. Coming at $20, we valued at 33. Fundamentally, the safety's not there. Look at the CI. That's another thing I want to look at. I would like to get into stocks with higher CI ratings if I'm going to be bottom fishing on them, right? Because CI tells me historically, what's the stock's ability to resist severe, which we're seeing, severe, right? But also lengthy price declines, right? So if your stock comes down, dips, and it stays dipped for a while, that's going to have a low CI rating, right? So if you want to do some bottom fishing, I'm not advocating it right now, but if that's something you're going to do, at least, incorporate, some higher levels of CI, right? So at least I know historically the stock likes to bounce back, right? All right, we got ACMR, DK, Dick's Sporting Goods. Dick's Sporting Goods actually up today. Big sell-off yesterday. What's the value? We value it at $283, and the stock is actually now less than $200 after the sell-off here. That actually might not be a bad value play. That is a big wick. Rising earnings per share here. Look at that candlestick. Woo! That could be, if it goes up any further, it could be a bullish engulfing candlestick after that gap down. But look at that upper wick there. The bears and the bulls, they're battling out. That upper wick goes almost to 200. Actually, let's look at this here. Look at that. The high, 196. The low, 168. If you want to play in that yo-yo game today, that is up to you. But right now, that's kind of the thing I'm letting the dust settle, right? That's had a 30-point swing on a $200 stock. But I will say this: if we get that bullish engulfing candlestick at the end of today, if we get the nicer body, a little bit higher up on that body, and we get some follow through Monday, this might be a good short-term trade here. And I emphasize the short-term just because, with the news and everything going on in the world right now, I don't know how long any kind of rally would last. Let's see here. And then our last stock here, we got Palantir. That's a good way to end it here. Let's see what Palantir. My biggest concern for Palantir, I know their technology and all that stuff, is just the valuation. Even from, traditional forms, non-VectorVest metrics like the PE ratio, things of that nature, the stock is definitely overvalued. Looks like it did hit a new low as of today, down 10% right now. I know Glenn's been talking about this stock for a while, since it was like $12-15. If you happen to get in there, $12-15, and you rode it all the way up to 120, and you're still holding, you're going to ride it all the way back down, that is on you. Protect profits. Nothing is telling me, hey, I should go buy Palantir right now. All the moving averages cross, new low. So just protect profits. Don't become emotional, right? You can always, buy back in later down the road. How many of you think Palantir is just going to run to $100 next week? I don't think, unless CPI data is phenomenal, earnings are on point, and the trade stuff is behind us, the Palantir ain't going $100 next week. I sold at 50, Ryan. Watch it pass. So that's the other thing. A lot of people that have sold or took profits on Palantir are thinking about when to get back in, right? And I will say this: I was looking at, because this is the mobile app. I'm not going to be able to give you the best visual, but if you put a long-term trend line, connect this one here, connect this one there, connect those lines, and add that trend line till today, what side is the price action on? Below the trend line or above the trend line? That's all I'm going to say about Palantir. Before that, let's go to QQQ. We're going to roll out of here. Everybody enjoy your weekend. Don't be, stressing about the market this weekend, right? That's what I'm not going to do, stress about the market this weekend. All right. Try not to stress about the market, right? Try not to. All right. Let's put QQQ back up here. Add stocks. I'm going to talk about what I was talking about before. Someone mentioned the prior swing low. Stock analysis power at 2 p.m. Yes, I will be doing the stock analysis power hour at 2 p.m. Definitely bring your stock recommendations. We're going to go in a very technical perspective. Glenn is, again, off today, so he will not be there for that. And that, be focused a lot more stocks in the VectorVest 7 program. Now, there's the Qs. Let's pull up the chart. Pull up 5 years. That's the swing low that you're talking about there, around 250. Nothing is out of the question, but I would not want the Qs go down to 250. That means the Qs, the market is down 50%. This is a real businesses and real people. That's not going to be good for anybody. Someone was talking about the 250 level. I hopefully, with some optimism here, I think the low will come in close to 400 off of this swing high from the rally we had back in 2021. We also got a touch around here, around that point, right? Right now we're only 428. If I look at one of these candlesticks here, The high is 401. I think these high was like 408. My hands are too big for these. There we go. Yeah, 405, 408, somewhere in there. So yeah, I do see a little bit more downside potential. Again, a lot of that's just going to play on what's going on in the world, right? I can't control that stuff. It went down 50% in 2008. Did it? Well, I'd have to look at that and see. And that might be the case. In 2008, I was just graduating high school, not before that. A long time before I got interested in the stock market. But I wish I was interested back then. That's actually why I have been doing this for so long now, because my mom lost a lot of money in the stock market, and I always think it's good to teach people, especially those. Because I'll be honest with you, financial advisors, they are not concerned about your money. And that's not a personal opinion. That's just experiences I've had with family and friends that have used financial management. The only person that's really going to care about your money is yourself. And that's why I say educate yourself, on simple things like a 20-day, 40, simple moving averages, trend lines. You don't have to, come out the woodworks with the VWAP right out the gate to be successful investing. No, you just got to have patience, have, something good to keep you on the right side of the market. And that's what VectorVest is for. We follow the trends. We don't try to predict anything. We're not, I'm not a magician. I don't tell you what's going to happen next week. No, I just point the facts and use those facts to make better educated decisions. That's all. For QQQ to go down this much is crazy. I don't necessarily think it's, crazy by any means. No. I mean, if you pull up the, actually, we'll probably do this in the live stream because we got to wrap it up. But pull up the Nasdaq 100 watch list. Look at the valuation of the watch list in the VectorVest 7 software, right? That's a good price to look at. Just throwing that out there. No matter what you do, you have to have a lot of cash to stay in market. Hold high quality stocks. Hey, high quality stocks, not a bad place to do it, but sometimes you do got to get defensive, right? QQQ was 56 to 29 in 2008 in 10 months. Wow, that is about a 50% drop, right? And right now, we went from about 540. Now we're at 420. So $120 on 540. What is that like? That's a good amount. That's like 15-20%, isn't it? All right. We got to go. Everybody enjoy your weekend. Definitely come check us out. We've got the stock analysis power hour in the community room. Definitely look out for the alert for that if you're a VectorVest 7 subscriber. Other than that, we've got the Roadshow. We got wine tasting. May 1st, me and Glenn, we're actually going to try something pretty cool, pretty fun during that wine tasting. It's called the VectorVest Shark Tank. You come bring your stock picks. We're going to be like sharks. You call me Mr. Wonderful. We're here to tear them apart or tell you if they're good, right? So just something fun, right? Get to know you guys. And that way you get to know us better as well, right? It's all about building relationships. But right now, again, I am bearish, right? If you are bottom fishing, swing trading, things like that, I'm of the mindset right now. Small gains are better than big losses, right? All right. I thought you were Mr. Yacht, right? Hey, John, you know what? Maybe I should put the captain's hat on for the power hour at 2. All right. I'll John, I'll see you there with my captain's hat. The weather's getting nice anyways, right? All right, everybody have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for tuning in. Really good luck. Don't become emotional. If you are emotional with your trading right now, you had a plan in place when you bought the stock, right? Stick to that plan. And on that note, you guys enjoy your weekend.